al-Assad meeting the new government, says priorities are to security, fighting terrorism and corruption, reconciliation and reconstruction. Russia says the West is fighting terrorism in Iraq and yet justifies it in Syria. And the Iraqi army says it controls Sulaiman Bek district in Saladin governorate. Good afternoon, this is news in English from the Syrian Arab television in Damascus. Members of the new cabinet headed by Prime Minister Hweqa were sworn in before President Bashar al-Assad today. In a later meeting with the cabinet members, President Assad said the government must provide a new vision and point out the negatives of the previous stage in order to avoid them, despite the current circumstances in the country. The President said the government's successes relies on caring and earning about citizens' trust through transparency and credibility, involving citizens in the personal and industrial levels, and respecting their minds and dignity. The President said that the first challenge facing the government, which is of primary concern, is the citizens' issue of security and the war on terrorism. And this issue is being addressed by the Defense Ministry and the Army and Armed Forces with a high level of patriotism, resulting in remarkable successes in this field, adding that at the same time national reconciliation must continue to receive attention because they proved to be successful in several areas. President al-Assad said that the members of the government must continue pursuing means to ensure the continuity of flow of basic goods and services and keep supporting the sectors that played a vital role in Syria's steadfastness, particularly agriculture, industry, and specifically the public sector, all while continuing to develop administration laws and the mechanisms necessary for carrying that out. The President also stressed the need to focus on morals and the educational and cultural processes and give them the necessary attention to develop them and overcome the crisis effects on future generations. In addition to achieving balanced development between rural and urban areas, President Assad noted that when it comes to economy, the main issue is the coming stage is reconstruction, whether in areas that have been secured after they were cleared of terrorists or in unregulated urban settlement areas, and this requires that all ministries worked according to calculated plans and feasible work mechanisms, which will help kickstart the economy in these areas and have a positive impact on the lives of thousands of families. The President pointed out that at the same time the government must take all possible steps to realize justice, prevent monopoly, monitor prices and combat crisis profiteers, stressing the need for the government to be decisive when it comes to combating corruption and holding the corrupt accountable, affirming that the law must never be circumvented, whether for achieving personal interests or realizing others' desires. President Assad also stressed the need for focusing on administrative reform and legislative mechanisms. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stressed that the West is justifying terrorism in Syria despite all international agreements to fight it. Lavrov said in a speech delivered at Moscow University that the crisis in Syria crossed the borders and reached Iraq, wondering at the same time how the West is helping Iraq in fighting terrorism and did not do the same in Syria. The Russian Foreign Minister asserted that fighting terrorism requires unified efforts from all sides. Units of the Syrian Arab Army targeted terrorist gatherings in Aleppo and its countryside, killing and injuring many terrorists, while other enemy units eliminated several terrorists in Bustan al-Qasr and Salahdin area in the city. In Jobar in Damascus countryside, Syrian Arab Army units have continued its operations against the terrorist gatherings and killed scores of them. Some of them are non-Syrians. Whereas in Deir ez-Zor, the Syrian Arab Army forces achieved unique successes in some areas like al-Hweqa, restoring stability after eliminating huge numbers of the ISIS terrorists there. In Daraa province to the south of the country and its countryside, Syrian Arab Army units have targeted the terrorist dens, killing or wounding tens of them and destroying a heavy machine-equipped vehicle in Samaniya al-Gharbiya. Other army units killed or wounded terrorists who were trying to infiltrate across the Syrian-Jordanian border and destroyed their criminal tools. Going to central Syria, where in Hama province 2 civilians have been killed and other 10 have been wounded, among them a child, by a suicide attack carried out by a terrorist in Mazra'at Khres village west of As-Salamiyya city. Police source in Hama province has indicated that a suicide terrorist drove a booby-trapped vehicle along Tal Dara village, 10 kilometers west of Salamiyya, and detonated his vehicle in one of the village's neighborhoods. In Idlib, authorities sent a humanitarian convoy consisting of 11 trucks loaded with 4,000 packages of food, health requirements and furniture to villages of Ma'arat al-Nu'man area in the eastern countryside of Idlib Governorate. Safwan Abu Saadi, the governor of the province, said that the relief aid will be distributed to nearly 7,000 families in the province, adding that the humanitarian convoy comes in the framework of the efforts exerted by the government to elevate the suffering of citizens in Idlib countryside. Abu Saadi added that the governorate has delivered the aid convoys to the people in need in cooperation with the Syrian Arab Red Crescent branch and the United Nations offices. Going to Iraq, where the Iraqi army forces restored Sulaiman Bek area in Salahdin Governorate, while the military sources said that Sulaiman Bek operation was a continuation of the operation of freeing Emirali, as the army forces seized the terrorists, killing about 22 Chechens. Furthermore, the security forces found 6 bodies from the tribes executed by the terrorists of the Islamic State. In an article by Owen Jones published in the British Guardian newspaper, the article says, although the British authorities have raised the level of terror threat to severe, there has been a missing link regarding the West's relations with the dictator states in the Middle East that have played a vicious and sinister role in the rise of the Islamic fundamental terrorism like Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Owen has pointed out that the West has been in alliance with the Gulf totalitarian states, adding that although there was no evidence that Qatar was directly funding the ISIS, some individuals inside the Qatari state were undoubtedly playing that role. Jones concluded his article by saying that the irony lies in the fact that although the West calls upon Qatar to stop backing the international terrorism, Britain has never stopped to sell arms and military equipment to small dictator states like Qatar. In cooperation with the Syrian Commission for Family Affairs and the UNICEF Ministry of Justice, has inaugurated a workshop in introducing terms and definitions of the agreement of eliminating all forms of discrimination against women, and also introducing children's rights and freedom of expression that comprises all forms of information and ideas, receiving and circulating them without any considerations to borders. With this, we come to the end of our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy. Now the latest business and market news with Vani, but after a short break.